Welcome everyone. We'll get started. So we're here today to talk about the Datgel Fence Map Tool and how it can provide exceptional presentation and using very flexible 2D fence reports in gINT, where you don't have to write any code because out of the box it can do this. All right, a little bit about myself initially. I'm Phil Wade. I'm the managing director and owner of Datgel and the founder. I've been using gINT since 1999. Initially in my career, I worked as a geotechnical consultant. I worked on some major tunnels and highways, mines, high-rise buildings, and a whole lot of other bits and pieces. So in that time, I was making a lot of fence reports in gINT and gained my practical understanding of what is needed. Since then, I've been involved in software geotechnical data management work for the majority of my career. So our agenda today, it's approximately 30 minutes. We will initially introduce Datgel and gINT software. Then we'll talk about the product details of the Fence and Map tool, do a demo of the software. That would be the main thing we're doing actually. And we'll talk about next step and future webinars and so on and questions. So if you have any questions, you can type them into the question and answer interface in Zoom. And at the end, I will answer all the questions. And I'll demonstrate things if needed in that step. So the Datgel and gINT solution is a combination of software from Bentley Systems and Datgel. And it allows you to manage, report, process all types of geotechnical data in one system, including boreholes, lab testing, instrumentation, in situ testing, through to mapping of data, 3D modeling, data collection in the field. So having everything in one solution allows you to be more efficient. You can eliminate double typing of data. You can work from one interface to do most of your things, or maybe two interfaces, because gINT has two bits, gINT and gINT Civil Tools. And you get really high quality presentation for your customers. So gINT is developed by Bentley Systems. They are the creators of many civil infrastructure and other engineering software. They are also the owners of Plaxis and Soil Vision these days. So gINT brings the core data management functionality and the mapping functionality, the CAD functionality. It's a very flexible and customizable product. It integrates with other products in Bentley's range of software, including particularly Open Road and Open Rail and their BIM software. There's a connection there. gINT can use either an Access or an SQL Server backend. And basically it helps you centrally control and manage your data in one database, be that for a project or for your whole organization from one place if you want to go that far. It's a very popular product around the world. There's in excess of 8,000 licenses out there. Datgel, we are a reseller of gINT. For some people, we can't sell gINT to you, but because you have a different type of license with Bentley. But for everyone, you can provide technical support. Sometimes you have to pay us extra for that. We can help you run training courses. But our main business actually is developing these add-ins to gINT. So we're a third-party developer of gINT technology, which basically means we create things that solve that last mile of need that you have, the localization that you need for your country, or that more geotechnical calculation that is not in the native gINT program. So basically when you buy gINT, you get like a blank spreadsheet sort of, an analogy, and you need to then create what you need. You need to develop and design that. And the Datgel add-ins mean that you don't have to develop or design anything like as much because you can use our software out of the box. And it does what you need that you'd otherwise have to create in gINT. So we have in excess of 800 licenses of Datgel software out there in 230 countries or more. 231 now, actually. We just sold something in a new country. 34. And we can further develop the products to suit your exact needs, add new features, and we sell gINT to people, as I mentioned before, all around the place, actually, not just in Southeast Asia and Australia. So the solution layout, right? gINT is the core. The DGD tool, which is quite relevant to this product. I'll talk about that more later, but it's like the encompasses gINT. Then the Fence Map Tool is one of our more geotechnical products. Well, the main point about how it links to the DGD tool is you must have the DGD tool to use the Fence Map Tool, actually. It is dependent upon that. We have these other geotechnical tools. We've already run webinars about these ones. You can find them on our YouTube channel, and these other ones we will be talking about in the coming months. So the green stuff is the Datgel, the blue stuff is gINT. And so in this block here, these things are what do you install on your local PC. The databases are either on your PC or on your server, and you read and write data from those. So the Fence Map Tool is there's no installation. Well, there's only an installation in the trial to control the trial. In reality, the full version doesn't have an installation. It just has reports in the library. The gINT collector is a new product from Bentley. It doesn't really play a role with the Fence Map Tool, so we won't get into that. So to the Fence Map Tool. The whole point of this tool is to be more efficient for your projects. Like my experience was, and I hear this from many customers, we don't end up using gINT to make fence diagrams as much as we want because it takes so much time to create what you want to see on the page for every project, and maybe they're not managing their library well, and they don't sort of build up all this functionality over time in their library. And basically not everyone's an expert designing gINT reports. So you're not getting the most out of the software. The Fence Map Tool, out of the box, has heaps of presentation options ready to use. So you don't have to design that stuff again and again. Engineers can just print the report they want instead of designing it. Or you don't have to get your drafting people to spend days and days drawing boxes in CAD. You can automate that using gINT. Just like this report is one of the ones we'll run later. It just takes a minute to generate. And you can export that to DGN or DXF and then improve the presentation in CAD. Yeah, you have to do something in CAD, especially on a big fence. But it's a lot better than all that manual checking and reworking and endless errors that you'll face. You can reuse these reports over and over again. You can save the configurations, you can edit the defaults. So you get what you want by default without even having to configuring things each time you run it. And you can leading on from that is you can use the Datgel output tool or scripts to save big configurations of print runs that you can rerun later and reuse, including, pagination. You can have, all the pages along alignment or cross sections along an alignment. And the presentation, this is what you saw. I did not edit a single thing on this example. This is what you get when you print the report, right? It's report ready. You can stick that into the appendix of your site investigation report without touching a single thing if you don't want to add more annotations or edits. So it's looks great. So there are 92 or so. It's a bit hard to decide how you count these things. 92 display options on either side of the fence stick or post. It has engineering scale bars, which we really had to code that into gINT. It has dynamic legends and keys that present the data you're actually presenting on the page. There are 46 reports with various page sizes, including metric A4 and so on, and North American letter 11 by 17 pages. There are the reports, the fence reports options include only the fence on the page, or you have the map at the top and the fence at the bottom, or the fence at the top and the map at the bottom. You can use options that are optimized to export to CAD, where the frame will expand. So you can have a 7-meter long fence diagram exported to CAD. So DGN, I think, is the best option by far today. And even if you want, on that point, even if you actually want a result in DWG, it's better you export to DGN and then open that up in GINT Civil Tools and convert it to DWG. That will give you the best outcome. Yes, there are maps. So they automatically present the proper scale. It'll fit the data to say, if the next good scale is 1 to 1,000, it will pick 1 to 1,000 automatically with proper scale bars. But one of the big important things to keep in mind is you need to be using one of 2 database structures to use the Fence Map Tool, because it expects the data in a certain location, like certain field names and table names. It's not that it's impossible for you to translate the reports into some other data structure, but it could take some time to do that. It's probably not worth the effort. At this point, it's the DGD tool data structure and the AGS RTA database structure. And actually, you can only get the AGS RTA database structure today by buying the DGD tool. And the DGD tool is much better. I don't really think you should be using the old structure anymore. So here, this is an example of all the presentation options that are available. Actually, there are more variations on how you can present things. So this is not the absolute complete set of examples. So there's many ways you can present SPTs and how the text is shown or something like that isn't really represented here. But you can see there's borehole log data, in situ testing, packer tests, other permeability testing. Got all these lab results as text, and that's one of the big things we added in recent times, is all these different lab results as text. And these sorts of things can be expanded or further developed. And you can show simple presentation of CPTs, but actually if you want the full-blown CPT presentation, you can merge the CPT tool functionality in together with the DGD tool. And it's got some ways of presenting piezometer data and acid sulfate soils and major defects, which would cut across really jump out across the log here. So we'll see those details, examples of this in the demo in a minute. So some of the new features in version 3, actually this was quite a big new version. So I think some of the really big points is the size of the text on the post is it's definable to a degree. You can pick some options because some people wanted the text bigger and others, smaller. The definable stick width, that was a big request from many people. You'll see that later. So you can set it to be 8 millimeters wide instead of the standard 3.5. And there are some options for the material graphics scaling. Again, because of you're showing this column at a thin, 3.5 millimeters wide. Maybe actually you want to change the scale of the graphic so it looks right at that width. And this is where we added the American page sizes as well. Okay, let's look at the tool. All right, first I'll start an input so we can look at the data, and then we'll go to output. So this is the example project, pretty much the same as what's in the trial that we put on the website yesterday. I'll probably update that. So this very slightly changed data. Okay, so I'm not going to talk a lot about GINT. Okay, we got the boreholes here and just try to focus in on the things that matter to fences. So just, the data's there, all right? We have no surfaces. That shouldn't have gone there. Sorry, I'm not going to show surfaces today, but we do have fence drapes, or a fence drape. So this is a geophysics section, or I think it's seismic refraction. So it's imported from DXF. So this is a native functionality of gINT, but you'll see this data later. And we've defined that its alignment in plan view is this S1 alignment. Then the alignments are the critical thing. So alignments, again, is the native functionality of gINT. So we will be using this A1 alignment later and the S1 alignment. So these are in plan view, say the center line of a road project. You could have many alignments in here representing different options or off-ramps or whatever of a linear project. So it could be road, railway, pipelines, tunnels, that sort of thing. Or it can just simply be a straight line across a building excavation, a building basement that you want to reuse. And sitemaps. So I have imported various different objects in here. So we have this, it's the last view I had open. So this is a simple DXF import. I've just dumped some dummy boreholes along the alignment, which are not really related to the map. I'll jump to another area. Go to alignment. So this is another set of data, but this time it's pretty much the same map, right? It's just moved. But this time I have an ECW file behind the data. And then we have this alignment, this cyan colored line. That is the alignment that we just saw in the table. And this magenta line, it's a bit hard to see, that is the S1 line. That's the seismic refraction line. It's a straight line. And finally, I'll jump to this other area, which we won't actually present, but we have another set of data over here. So another ECW file, there's a bunch of boreholes. And this, I'm not going to run it today, but this is what I would use to do the cross-section examples, a lot using this fence output tool. All right, so let's, okay, we won't show all the data. There's data in all these tables that we'll be presenting. We jump to output. Now, my first example will be a fence map A3L. That's the report style. So these are all the reports that are in the Fence Map Tool. I will pick these boreholes, particularly, and preview. This is the user report variables. Again, this is part of the Fence Map Tool. All of the fence reports have this. So we have different presentation options. So this controls the graphical column on for boreholes or anything that's not a CPT and a DCP. We'll make it 6 millimeters wide. So we have these various options for the header. So I'll change this to something different than my default. So put the depth and the elevation at the bottom this time. Make the depth scale on the left. Where did that go? Yep, there. We use the auto option because for 1 meter it's too close. All right, I'm going to show the vein shear on the left, but I'm going to put, so if we make it on the left, that's fine. It'll be hard up against the post, but we want to offset it 3 millimeters because we're going to have some other data closer to the post. So L3. We'll make the SPT plot on the right, and the option will be do line and number this time. All right, what else we got here? Got the RQD down here somewhere. RQD histogram on the right. We'll put the RQD text on the right, but R5, so offset, so it doesn't overlap the post. And I'm going to show the CPT, but that will, with CPT, we can set the scale, right? We'll make it 20, but it would have shown even if I didn't set that. And we'll plot the PSD D50 on the right. That won't overlap anything because it's the RQD is further down. I'm going to have the SPT, so I have to maybe offset that R5. SPT is, how about we put that on the left then? Yep. All right, click OK. And so here we go. All right, so I didn't set a scale. If you wanted to define the scale exactly what you want, then you would enter the numbers in this area here and the minimum maximum of the ranges. But you just keep in mind you can only set 2 of the 3 of these boxes. I'm hovering over all these 3. And we will use other options in the second run in a moment. This will take about a minute to run. So maybe I'll just go back here, and in the meantime, you can dwell on this lovely picture here of all the options. I guess the other thing I should mention that comes to mind is obviously we have a web page of the Fence Map Tool, but we also, almost more importantly for you, is we have this user guide docs area on our on this other docs website. So you will find quick start guide and the detailed user guide of how to use the functionality of the product. And just keep in mind, if you're using the trial, you need to install, well, you need to have GINT installed, right? But you also, and you need GINT Professional or Professional Plus to make fences. And although it's not mentioned here, I'll change that. For the trial, you need to install the Datgel DGD tool product and activate the trial, because that will restrict your access to the Fence Map Tool. Because the Fence Map Tool itself doesn't have a program installed in the full version. Okay, it's finished. It just just flick back automatically. So here we are. I forgot to choose. I chose the wrong option. I meant to have a map as well, but anyway, you'll see that in the next version, the next run. Let's zoom in here. So we have the okay, this is an option for the header, right? I picked this one where it looks like that. SPT, the scale. We've got the D50 down the left. We've got the CPT data. Like I said, this is a simple approach. Field vein data. So this is this coloring and lines. So the color is the geological unit, and that's defined in a table and input. But the symbology as well as the ranges. There's another table for that. And then the black lines are the actual material graphic or legend. So clay and sand and silt and sand. Down here we have the dynamic post legend, defining what's actually on the page, and then the material graphic legend, what materials are on the page. This is the actual scale, and that's it. That's what it best fitted to. So you could rerun this again. You could export, exit, and then rerun it at 1 to 1,000 and 1 to 400. Here's the geological units, the colors that are on the page, and title block. So it's quite achievable for you to edit the look and feel of the title block, as long as it's in this size, like in that area, that you don't make it bigger. Because if you make it bigger, then you have to move all this stuff around. That's a lot of effort. But that's easy to customize one page in the reports. Okay, so I will edit the file and make it a CAD file. I'll just save it here. This is a GINT CAD file. So now we can see that every borehole has its own layer. And I can make a new layer. Give it color. And then I can draw, this is a very rough example. I can just draw polygons all over the page, right? Just imagine that's what you're trying to give an example of something. I can close it. I can fill it with a material graphic. Set that, give it a color. And I can send that to the back of everything. If I preview, so it's very easy to do these simple annotations and then print this off or PDF it. All right, now other people will ask normally, and I'm sure that one of your questions in your mind is, okay, how can we automatically draw lines on the fence? Well, that's gINT has this surfaces functionality, which I'm not actually going to show you how to use it today, but it can automatically define a 3D surface, and then you can display that on the fence behind your boreholes. Or you can do what I just did there. You can just annotate the fence. And actually the best place to create the 3D surfaces is in gINT Civil Tools, and then you can export them to LandXML and import them into gINT. All right, now let's go to the next example. I shall choose this one. This time we're going to do it along an alignment, everything within 10 meters of a particular alignment. It's a different set of data. We're going to use the fence drape. So I'm going to make this, so I'm turning the fence drape on, and this sort of makes the text scale down to be smaller. Preview. And this time we leave that. Show the consistency density text. There it is, left and on the left as well. Show the CPT will show, that's fine. I wanted to show the major defects. I guess for the purpose of this, that's enough. We don't have to show everything. Okay, click OK. So the main point of this is to show the drape and the major defects. So I used an alignment, and I'm getting everything within 10 meters of the alignment. So that's why I've only got 6 boreholes showing. So I didn't have to pick every borehole one by one. All right, so this time we have the air photo, and we have the, zoom in here, we have the major defects. And it's a bit of a mess, isn't it, at this scale? But this is the geophysics, the seismic refraction data coming from the fence drape. So it might be good to make that a different color. And you can set the colors in the drawing interface. Okay, so exit that. Now we'll just briefly show a map, right, to wrap this up. So I'm going to jump to the sitemap reports. Choose that one. We'll use, I'll pick these. Better I do these ones. These reports, these boreholes, preview. Now I don't need to set a scale because it'll best fit the data to the page. All right, so it's done 1 to 2000. It picked that was the best next good scale in my list. So these are the boreholes. It's just pretty self-explanatory, isn't it? So we'll exit that. All right, so back to the PowerPoint. So what's the next step? Well, if you don't have gINT, drop me an email and I will send you the installer for gINT. And you can download the trial version of the Fence Map Tool off our website. We just put a new version there yesterday. You can look at the docs area on our docs for the Fence Map Tool. If you have any technical support questions, you can email support@datgel.com or just email me directly. And we have some upcoming webinars over the next 2 months. So we'll be announcing those as we set the dates. And here's my contact details here if you need me. If you're looking to understand the licensing or pricing or whatever, you can just email me. I'll get back to you. All right, it's a good time for questions. So if you want to jump in there into the question and answer interface. Oh, I have one question. Well, I was asked, can it be used with gINT logs? No, because this, you need gINT Professional or Professional Plus to use this, because it's still the gINT fence report functionality. Asked a question in the chat. That's fine. I see it. So Louisa asked, is it possible to produce 3D models in gINT? Yes, but it's not part of the Fence Map Tool. But gINT Civil Tools is the part of gINT Professional and Professional Plus that allows you to make 3D models. I can briefly show you the a few images on our website that shows that. Blind. There it is. So make maps and 3D visualizations of data like that. And you can show traces of CPTs down beside the post. And that is the place where you can create GeoBIM data and into formats that BIM software will accept. Okay, well, we'll wrap it up. Thanks for attending, everyone. Have a great day, and hope to see you at our future webinars.